The partial win, aka the split the baby win of the Ripple versus SEC case, is actually wonderful news for us as retail investors and holders of XRP. I hear a lot of people talk as if this is a bad thing or some kind of negative thing, but it's absolute positive news for me anyway. And I'm going to show you why. Ripple says US banks will want to use XRP cryptocurrency after partial victory in SEC fight. Ripple is confident that US banks will start wanting to use XRP cryptocurrencies for cross-border transactions after a judge gave the firm a partial victory in its fight against SEC General Counsel STU told CNBC. A judge ruled that XRP was not itself necessarily a cryptocurrency in a development with major implications for the digital assets industry. So this doesn't only affect XRP, but it affects basically everybody, all altcoins, right? It wasn't a total victory for Ripple, however. The judge also ruled that the sales of XRP by Ripple to institutional buyers do count as unregistered sales of securities. Now, this is the bit that everyone has problems with. Let's start with the fact that securities aren't illegal, right? People buy securities all the time. They just have to be registered with the regulatory body, and in the United States, that's the SEC. So all Ripple has to do to be able to sell directly to institutions is register it, right? So once they've registered it, then they can sell. But the reason why they haven't registered it is because the SEC itself has failed to provide adequate regulations, adequate requirements. A lot of people have asked over and over again, and the SEC hasn't come back with any satisfactory way of doing this. This is why, for instance, Coinbase has countersued the SEC. And a lot of people have complained about this. EOS, for instance, in the past has been fined and they've settled. They actually went to the SEC and asked for regulations, and they worked something out back in the day. This is why EOS wasn't sued, by the way, because of course they had already settled. Now, Ripple could have settled with the SEC, but they've done a great service to the industry because they've gone out and they put this through the law. Now, we're on the other side. We're more clear on the XRP token that it itself is not a security. We have that clarity now. And might I say, just like everybody's saying, XRP right now is the only token that has been through the law in this way and has been declared not a security. Everybody else has to use this as precedent, but every other token can still be tested through the law to make sure that they are the same sort of thing as XRP. But XRP is clearly in the open. So if lawsuits were to go out now, XRP is years ahead of everybody else, and they can soldier on and do what they need to do while everybody else gets held back. Now, having said that, Ripple cannot register XRP until this lawsuit is finally over. And there's still a trial of the executives, and this whole XRP sale to institutions, that still has to go through the courts, and a result is probably pending years down the line. So what's happening now is the sale of XRP to institutions directly cannot be registered until the lawsuit is over. So that's going to take some time. So in the meantime, pending that time, institutions that want to buy, which they have been buying previously, OTC, can no longer do that. They have to buy on the exchanges. What's that going to do? Well, that's going to bring the money directly onto the exchanges and actually move the market every time that they buy. So while we all buy on exchanges, those institutions also have to buy on the exchanges. Now, countries can continue to work with Ripple, but because Ripple is based in the United States, they are regulated by United States law in the United States. So companies that are based also in the United States cannot partake in XRP directly from Ripple in the United States. But there's nothing stopping companies that are based internationally buying XRP however the heck they want, as long as in that country XRP isn't illegal for whatever reason. Now, of course, the pomp and excitement of Ripple having won the case caused a massive green week in the whole crypto industry, because XRP has shown that A, the SEC can be defeated, and B, that altcoins themselves aren't really securities. It is the way that they're packaged and sold that are securities. Now, also secondary sales on exchanges are not securities. That's another bit of clarity that was brought into the ecosystem. However, some of these coins are securities, even the way they're sold or whatever. But each one of those coins will eventually have to reckon with the law. But as far as we're concerned, XRP is in the clear, and they've done really well over the week. And look at this, 1 inch not doing too bad. I might have to check that one out later. And if you look at the charts, a lot of the pump that went into a lot of the cryptos have basically been negated because there was this kind of weird dump on Bitcoin, and that usually takes down the altcoins with it. But XRP did very well and sort of maintained most of the pump, and so did Stellar. So Stellar and XRP behaving very, very similarly on the charts for obvious reasons. As you can see there, it's kind of just doing its thing. There's a little bit of a dump there as people took profits, and then it's just been moving sideways, gaining a little bit, going down a little bit. Now, some of this is due to a bit of resistance. It's kind of hard to show you on this graph. You can see these green candles here. I took a screenshot of this yesterday because I noticed this pattern. As you can see, they were happening exactly 4 hours apart. Now, what that suggests is that somebody is programmatically buying on intervals, right? So pump, pump, pump. And that usually happens when a big organization is trying to buy a lot of coins, but they don't want to move the market. And they basically just buy a little bit and wait for it to cool off, buy a little bit again, wait for it to cool off, buy a little bit again. Now, if you look at that, it still kind of pumped the market a little bit, but the FOMO that would have ensued if all of those candles were lined up and was just one giant candle from 72 cents to 79 cents. That would have kickstarted a FOMO that would have taken the prices way higher, perhaps even breached the $1 mark. And that might break right through that resistance, but they did the little buys, and then the resistance took over and brought the price down to where it was before. Now, I have no way of telling if this is actually what's happening, but this is what looks like is happening to me. I don't know who these people are. I don't know if that's just a whale manipulating things, but I've seen this pattern a lot, especially last bull market, where these large whales and organizations would take an interval of time, be it 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and they would buy on that interval over a period of time just to kind of like let the market breathe and not moon the price too much. So as far as I can see, I believe very strongly that institutions are starting to buy on the market, but they're doing it very gradually, very slowly, because of course they don't want to make any noise. They don't want the price mooning too much. Now, talking about people trying to keep the price down, apart from the sell walls that I'm seeing at different levels to try and regulate the price, who knows, maybe exchanges are even involved. Who knows? There's no way of me telling. Again, speculation. I've also seen quite a lot of sudden FUD that's been released in the ecosystem. I've seen a lot of FUD happening on Twitter, a lot of FUD happening, articles coming out all over the place, trying to sort of badmouth or cool off what's happening, apart from like obviously active campaigns by people who are actually bullish, I think, but don't want the price to go up too early. They want to participate. A lot of it is also kind of sour grapes, I think, from people who are maybe Bitcoin maxis, or maybe people that missed out on the token, or people just hate XRP. Another thing that I noticed about people who don't like XRP so much is because they talk about the government involvement in it. They don't like the fact that XRP technology may be used to implement CBDCs around the world. They don't like the governmental aspect of that. Personally, I'm not a big fan of CBDCs. In fact, I absolutely hate them. But they're inevitable, and there's pretty much nothing we can do to stop that. What we can do, though, is capitalize on this sort of once-in-a-lifetime wealth generation opportunity. Even if you're a Bitcoin maxi, you can generate funds from elsewhere. A lot of people generate funds from US dollars, British pounds, by doing physical jobs in real life, and then moving the funds to Bitcoin, right? So who's to say where your funds are coming from? If you don't believe in a system, then there are other people who believe in the system. It's just a world that we live in, right? Live and let live. As usual, not financial advice, do your own research, but I believe that we're in for an incredible week. So buckle your seatbelts and don't fall for the FUD.